Really quickly before we start, I want to give everyone like their flowers. First of all, I want to give the New York Knicks their flowers because I think a lot of people have been underrating how good the New York Knicks have been throughout their entire playoff run, um, and how good they are in general. That being said, I think what you saw from the New York Knicks last night is a lot closer to their ceiling versus what we saw from the Spurs. I just want to be completely honest. I did say that the New York Knicks also played a lot better against teams that have been through 7 game series. In fact, they won literally every single game when that happened, right? So the trend has continued, and the New York Knicks have not lost a single game since round one of the playoffs. So there's that. So, you know, obviously, we should be impressed with that. But two, I just want to say one thing. I just want to say one more thing before we get into that. I don't know what the fuck they give Jalen Brunson between his multitude of playoff injuries, but it's gotta be some illicit substances. I need that nigga piss test now. I I saw this nigga keeled over, like dying, basically. And yeah, if you think that the Shea whistle is bad, brother, you have not been watching Jalen Brunson, bro. Jalen Brunson whistle dog is demonic, satanic, truly. That's neither here nor there. Let's talk about the obvious like good things that we saw and the obvious bad things we saw before we get into like the actual basketball of it. Obviously, De'Aaron Fox put like shit last night. Wimby, we'll talk about Wimby's bad game very shortly, but we have to talk about we have got to talk about De'Aaron Fox. Well, what the fuck was that? Started the game off 0 for 5. Not good. Made one shot after that. I did not track his field goal percentage after that because it was really, really bad. He just kept settling for threes, which makes no fucking sense, like at all. Like I understand that 3-point shooting is something that this team desperately needs to come out of Vassell and Champagny, and then and the other guys are gonna need to make shots occasionally. Like Stephen Curry's gonna have to make a three occasionally. Wemby's gonna have to make a three occasionally. You don't want these guys taking a whole lot of them, but you need them to make threes, right? And I'll be very, very fair to Champagny. Champagny was hitting his threes in the first half. He went for a heat check after, and he, by the way, he was like scorching hot. So I understand why he went for the heat check, but he went very, very cold in the second half of that game, and it was really, really hard to watch. Wemby had a couple of threes. He still took too many threes to my liking. I think the ideal amount of threes that he would be taking a game is 4, at the absolute most. And that's if the 4 is literally if he's not hitting any of the threes. I think the max amount of threes he should take if he's actually hitting some of them is probably around 7. I don't know how that actually works out as far as math, but I'm just as far as the math of it. But the 7 would keep the defense honest. He still needs to take more shots, to be completely honest. This team, the way the team flows and functions when he's being aggressive is obviously a lot better and more dynamic than when they're not taking shots. Like Wemby can win you regular season game. I'm sorry that I'm yawning. I've been up for a while and I thought I was ready to record, but the energy is not like permeating my body and getting me to this point. Yeah, no, Wemby, when he's being aggressive, the offense is completely different. It's a much better offense. It's a much better team when he's taking a lot of shots and being aggressive as an offensive player. We literally saw that throughout the entirety of the Thunder series where they knocked out the defending champions. And I know a lot of people. So I want to preface this with this. Because no matter what happens, whoever loses the finals is going to be fucking slandered, right? I just want to put these stakes where they appropriately need to be. If the Knicks lose the finals, I'm saying them first because they're up game 1. They're up 1 game, right? So they obviously have better PR right now. If the Knicks lose the finals, right? What people are gonna say about the New York Knicks is that they literally played nobody important in the Eastern Conference, and when they finally matched up against a Western Conference team, they lost. Which this is the normal script for the Eastern Conference. This is normal script for literally any team that comes out of the Eastern Conference. This is the exact same reason that we were shitting on the Celtics until they won their championship. In 2024, we were literally like, okay, they played the Cavs, they were injured. They played this team, they were injured. They beat the Pacers, and when they finally beat the Pacers, at this point in time, everyone was like, the Pacers shouldn't even be here right now. This is obviously before the Pacers went on that demonic run they went on the next year, but like we were literally sitting there like, the Pacers is cool, right? And they swept the Pacers, but those games were a lot closer than people realized. And the Pacers absolutely threw one of those games away. That's not debatable. Game 3, I remember watching Game 3 and then knowing that I had to work early in the morning and just hoping for a Boston Celtics loss in the series and seeing that shit and the way that they lost. Fouling while up 3. Oh my god. Fuck me. It was terrible. God, it was bad. Really dark times to be like a fan of basketball. When Boston's winning, it's just not fucking fun. Especially because I'm a Cavs fan. I fucking hate Boston. Regardless of that, that Game 3 loss, resonates. So let's go over this. If the Spurs lose, obviously, the easiest thing to say is they beat the defending champions and they were injured. And to be quite honest with the defending champions, it's not like when they lost, a lot of us had reevaluated how we really felt about Shea and how we looked at this team as a whole throughout the postseason run because they were not as dominant in the postseason as they had been in the regular season. And this is going to be the single thing saying about the San Antonio Spurs. The obvious caveat with them is going to be like they beat the champions, but the champions were injured, which again, you play who's in front of you, right? But you beat the injured champions and then you face the New York Knicks and they walked you down. Speaking of walking down, I don't think anyone needs me to say this because we were talking about the obvious goods and the obvious bads. Jalen Brunson, I mean, I alluded to it when I talked about how he bounced back from that injury, but Jalen Brunson just was, what the fuck was that? Like, obviously, it's a Jalen Brunson game, and Jalen Brunson hits a lot of difficult shots. I said that. I said that he's going to need to hit a lot of them, and that I also said that Karl-Anthony Towns' role in this series is going to be weird. He's going to need to be able to stretch the floor and have him drive at this, because Wemby's obviously the best idea and way to guard this team as a whole is to have Wemby as a help defender. So you can make those Brunson shots even harder and to make a lot of people do the U-turn move. A lot of people are calling it gnashing, but it's not true gnashing. I'm going to refer to it as false gnashing because true gnashing requires you to go all the way to the basket, under the basket, around, and back out. They're false gnashing. They're not even getting to the basket because Wemby is there. And the way Wemby affects the game of basketball, obviously, right? I don't even know if that's a real term, false gnashing or true gnashing, but I'm going to be coining it. And if anyone ever wants to take that from here and put that out into the basketball ethos, cool, have fun with that. I'm going to call that false gnashing from now on. That's the thing that you see commonly with Wemby where people aren't even getting shots up. The defense looked great from San Antonio. And also, I don't know how I missed this because it's a rookie playing in their first finals game and it's a rookie point guard of all the people. Dylan Harper was fucking amazing. That's the justification that we were needing to talk about with the De'Aaron Fox being so bad. De'Aaron Fox was awful. First final games for him as well, right? Obviously. He's never even been to the conference finals until this point in his career. He's never been to the second round at this point in his career. He's never made it even if you want to say he's never even been in a second round game. I just want you to know the furthest he's made it in the playoffs is Game 7 of a first round series where he ultimately lost and watched the opposing point guard, Stephen Curry, drop the most points in Game 7 history. For like 2 weeks. it was like that for like 2 weeks and then Tatum took the record. Man. Do you see why it's easy to hate on Boston? Like, fuck Boston, man. Boston is like the San Antonio Spurs, really, as well. Where, like, you've had, like, no down years, and you've just been good for so fucking long, and I'm tired of that shit. Fuck you guys. Speaking of which, let's talk about San Antonio. This is their first final since 2014. And at this point, up until this point, in the entire Tim Duncan era, with Tim Duncan being other, they had never lost Game 1 of the finals. Wemby's going to need to find some motivation in this series. Obviously, he's not going up against Chet, the world's most hated. Well, sorry. Chet is his most hated person. He fucking can't stand Chet. He's going to need to find some motivation. I don't know who he dislikes on New York. I mean, obviously, there should be some motivation, too. They can't hoist both trophies on you. They can have the cup. No one cares about the cup. I mean, you probably cared about the cup at the time, but, like, All of that was in practice for this moment right here. They can't take the finals from you and the cup. That's gonna look crazy, dog. The Knicks owning the Spurs would be fucked, you know? I don't think Wemby wants that, and I don't think basketball fans at large want that. I'm sorry, New York. You can't have a good mayor after getting out of the Eric Adams administration and be NBA champions, bro. It's not, bro. No. The only franchise in New York that can have some success is the Yankees. That's it. People, weren't the Mets good for? Shut that bullshit up. It's like, what about Josh? Shut that shit though. By the way, we're talking about New York City. No one's talking about New York the state. New York the state is already up, like, perennially. Yeah. That was unrelated and a very not basketball tangent. Let's talk X's and O's. I already told you about the false gnashing that's going on in the series. Brunson iso ball has still managed to be there. Here's the thing. Here's something that also was very problematic in the stretches in which Jalen Brunson was absolutely torching the Spurs. I have said this the literal entirety of the postseason. The number one guard on the opposing team has to find ways to attack Brunson and make him defend. I don't understand. Like, yes. And this goes for Cleveland. This goes for San Antonio now. This goes for literally every single team that has played against these niggas. And it's including the Sixers, really, since the first round. We get it. You have bigs. Yes, your bigs are important. Your bigs are even in most situations the best players on your team. You have to make Jalen Brunson guard. And if Cat is on the court at the same time as Jalen Brunson, this is a conundrum that Tom Thibodeau, a much better defensive coach, was dealing with the entirety of the postseason run. What the fuck do you do if both of these guys are in the action? You can't, right? So both of the guys can't be in the action. If Brunson's man is in the action and they have Brunson on the switch and Karl-Anthony Towns' man is on the same action as well and they pick and roll situation, that is a scuffed situation, especially because I do not think that they've practiced enough throughout this postseason run against actual pick and rolls. So if I don't see that in the next game, we're going to have a problem. And also, here's another thing. Cat shooting was a big thing. Because obviously in situations like this, because they've matched up with the Spurs 3 times, the ideal thing for you to do defensively, ideally at least, is to have Wemby on Jalen Hart. But there are counters to that too, by the way. Mike Brown has dealt with counters to that, and he's obviously dealt with that. Them helping off of him to have other people helping off of Brunson to have that happen. The problem with that is that means Cat is often switched on to a smaller guard, and if Wemby is taken out of the action, which Wemby can be taken out of actions, with this Knicks offense is actually really good. If he's taken out of the action, that means Cat's got a smaller guy on him, and it's up to Cat to finish in that moment. And Cat was inconsistent with that throughout the game, but he hit it just enough. Also, Keldon just remains fucking awful this postseason run. Like, he's had moments where he's been good, but, like, I'm going to be completely honest with you. Like, the fouls, they just haven't been good fouls. Like, I know Carter Bryant was getting yelled at by Mitch and Mitch Johnson. I know fucking Sid Pop would have done the same thing if he was coaching this team at this moment. But, yeah, that shit, the fouls have just been stupid fouls. Like, they haven't... If you're going to foul Karl-Anthony Towns, you need to foul him before he gets into the motion of shooting. That was also the fouls that Fox had taken had just been fucking stupid fouls, too. Like, I'll excuse the OG one because he got into the foul. He fouled him before OG could go up. And also, OG's been looking, like, mad hesitant. Also, OG had a pretty crazy run in the fourth quarter. Those, Brunson and OG had crazy, like, moments throughout this game. Cat had a couple of stuff going on for him, but like not really. OG, that heater that OG was on for a second, fuck, that happened. That really opened up the game. The turnovers really for the New York was bad, and they were living off of the turnovers. But to be honest, the turnovers never took them out of the game. And as far as the Spurs, their turnovers, despite having less turnovers, really did actually take them out of the game. Um, Harper was. I actually have nothing negative to say about Harper. Let's talk about Wemby really quickly. Wemby, you got to do something different, dog. I don't know what the different thing is. You were getting to the free throw line, right? That was great, and that free throw shooting from you is really good and consistent. And it's probably like the best that I've ever seen a big of anyone is dominant, near as dominant as you shoot from the free throw line, with probably like the sole exception of like Joel Embiid. But Embiid would also give me some like face up moments, right? To like help the free throws out. You really only had your production coming from the 3-point line and the free throw line. You gotta finish through contact to help your team out a little bit. That field goal percentage that I saw from you last night, and yes, I know field goal percentage is not the end all be all, but we're in the finals. We're talking about accuracy. He needs to hit those shots. Yes, getting to the free throw line is good, but that kind of slows it up, and that needs to be, if you're going to go to the free throw line, y'all need to be at there while you're finishing plays. If they had been in the bonus for a weird amount of time, I think the Spurs really did choke this game. And it wasn't their offense as much. Like, it was their offense, and there was a turnovers at a certain point in time, but it really came down to, like, the Knicks just hit a fucking their stride and the heater continued. Mikal Bridges is finally cooled off. I was waiting for that the entirety of the postseason run because he was shooting, like, a prolific, like, a disgusting amount. I think he was shooting, like, his fucking field goal percentage at a certain point just got to, like, 70%. Or he was wasn't he shooting like 70% on like jump shots or something, like something egregious Mike Green had brought up in one of the games in the Cavs series? Like, what the I not in the Cavs series, like throughout the entirety of the postseason, he had gotten to that point. I was like, oh my god, wow. I do want to say this really quickly because I don't want people to hit the panic button for the Spurs really quickly. But they won this game and Josh Hart wasn't shooting well. Mikal Bridges' shooter and heater that he's been on the entire postseason run it wasn't there in game one. And if I'm the Spurs, right, I can be like, oh, well, you know, the ankle's still probably bothering Fox a little bit. Yeah, whatever. Why was Champagnie on Brunson for as long as he was in the game? That was something I was worried about for a while. And yes, I had pointed this out during the broadcast. And this is a really important moment that I want to bring up. I had been like, why is Champagnie on Brunson? Brunson passes out of an action where he has Champagnie on him, something he doesn't do later in the game. And it resulted in a turnover because Stephon Castle was harping and lurking and waiting for that pass to come out to Mikal Bridges, which y'all cannot concede that switch. That Champagne, I don't know what's going on in San Antonio, and you guys are probably willing to live with that result a little bit more in the last series. You have to guard Brunson the same way y'all were guarding Shea in the beginning of that series. I don't know why you didn't do that. And I know he was missing a couple of shots. You cannot concede the Champagnie switch if you want to win this series. That can't happen. And if Champagnie's not hitting his threes, he cannot be on the fucking court because of how likely you are to concede that matchup. That can't fucking happen. That just can't. Also, another thing, I know you're worried about injury risk and stuff and preventing that, and Wemby's young and into his career. Wemby needs to play a lot of fucking minutes during this series. You've been saving him throughout the entirety of the postseason run. You didn't need him as much against Minnesota. You didn't need him as much against Portland. You didn't even fucking need him to play games in some of those series, right? I know you just came off a 7-game series. Wemby has to play heavy minutes in this series. Especially when he's not in foul trouble. He was not in foul trouble the entirety of last night. He was in foul trouble game 7. I will give you that. That's why you didn't play him as much. Understandable. You can't not do that. That's not okay, man. That's not okay. Also, this is exactly why attacking Cat is really important. Cat was in foul trouble throughout points of this game. Not nearly as badly as I thought he would be, because I thought the Slashers would be able to get past the first line of defense, considering the first line of defense is fucking, who is it? Brunson and Hart. Who gives a shit about those? Like Hart. No offense to Hart. Scrappy guy. Tough guy. Hart should not be able to fucking guard Stephon Castle and fucking Dylan Harper. Respectfully. Respectfully, he should not be able to guard De'Aaron Fox either. Respectfully. The actions that y'all should be involving in and getting the switch off of OG, which OG was not the primary, he was not primarily guarding them. I think he was playing like kind of like free safety out there in the gaps between them. I need the Spurs to like realize that and adapt. Also, the off days and for these games are gonna be so fucking boring, man. They're gonna be so boring. They are going to be so boring. By the way, I'm just like yesterday was tough, really exhausting day for me. I had stayed up really early, I guess would be how you put it. So, I will be going into the next finals game with a lot more rest and a lot more energy in the video. I stayed up really early yesterday and installed the ceiling fan. I have one more to go in this house. For obvious reasons, considering the basement ceiling is like what, 8 feet tall? No, not even 8. It's not even that. Like it's probably like 7. That there is no ceiling fan in the basement. That once I get, there's one up here. There's one in my room. I'll put one in my brother's room. I'm gonna put one in my parents' room. That's gonna be it. There will be no more ceiling fans. And I guess maybe this chandelier will come out and I'll put a ceiling fan in there. Hopefully fucking not. Hope I get. Every time I go into the ceilings, I find more and more stuff. I'm sorry this for the tangent, but like, comment, subscribe already is what you should have been doing. I should have asked you to do that early in the video, but like, man, this has just been, it's been tough, man. It has been tough. If you want my voice to sound like this more throughout the recordings and stuff, I will try and be as exhausted as possible for you. But if you want more energy, man, I gotta get some sleep. Like, comment, subscribe, all the fun stuff. This has been a shorter video than my normal stuff. Normally it's like a 30-minute long one, but there's not a lot to say. There's a lot of moments in the game last night, and there was a lot of bad play from guys. I really don't like talking about bad play nearly as much. It's hard to really, when a player's doing something good, it's easy to say that, and it's easier to talk about that. When a player's doing something wrong, did you see it? No? Ah, damn. How do I describe this? Because I can't just pull up footage and be like, this sucked. And I also don't want to rely too heavily on the numbers, because I feel like if you have to rely really heavily on the numbers and you can't support it with the visual stuff, it doesn't come across as well. And people just think that you're pulling shit out of your ass. With all that being said, you've already heard me do this spiel like 3 times at this point. Like, comment, subscribe, please. I want the channel to take off. All right, bye.